So you wanna make techno rumbles? Let me tell you, you're in the right place today. In this video I will show you the simple method I use to generate some of these. And the best part? It only took me like a couple of seconds. I'm going to explain them in 3 levels of complexity, from beginner to pro, so that we're all on the same page. I'm also going to explain some of the science behind why they are so hypnotizing. But first, we're going to have to design the sound of the rumble. Make sure it sounds good, you know? So first things first, let's set the tempo to around 130 to 140 BPM and add a kick, a hard-hitting one if you can. I like it, but I'm going to add overdrive to it so I can like it even more. Now, this is important. You want to turn the bandwidth all the way up so it affects the entirety of the kick, like this. And turn the dynamics all the way down, turn the dry wet all the way up. And from here, just play with the drive and tone settings until you like how it sounds. The drive is going to add more boom to the kick, and the tone is going to introduce some higher frequencies. Here's the settings I ended up going for. Here's the before, here's the after. Now I'm going to add this operator preset from Ableton, which is called Basic Sub Sine, which is literally just a sine wave. And I'm gonna put down this one note for demonstration so that you can hear what we're doing. And let's add overdrive to it as well. Same setting as with the kick. Full bandwidth, 0 dynamics, full dry wet, and play with the drive and tone. Now, in order to get that rumbling techno feeling, we need to fill up the spaces between the kick hits. And to do that, we're going to sidechain this bass to the kick. I'm going to use Ableton's stock compressor for that. Press this little arrow here, select sidechain, select my kick from this menu here, and turn down the threshold until it starts ducking like this. So this was without the sidechain, and this is with it. Cool. Now let's group the kick and the bass together using Ctrl-G. And I'm going to add yet another overdrive to the group. Same settings, full bandwidth, no dynamics, full dry wet, and play with the drive and tone. Now that we have the sounds prepared, we can move on to level 1. And this one note pattern I laid down is kind of boring, so let's draw some notes in. And yes, before you ask, we're going to be making the patterns manually for now, but stay tuned, we'll start generating them very soon. But how do we go about drawing the notes? Good question. This is the science part that I was talking about earlier. So, if you've ever been to a nightclub or a festival and you've experienced those big speaker systems, then you know that the bass frequencies are not only heard in your ears, but also felt in your body. And where in the body they are felt depends on the sound's frequency. So, the range between 50 to 120 Hz are the sounds that you feel in the chest, while the lower ranges from 50 down to 30 Hz are the sounds that you feel in the stomach. And the key to creating rumbles that are truly hypnotizing is alternating between these ranges. You need to combine the chest slam with the gut punch to give your listeners an ultimate beatdown. You need to punch them repeatedly in the chest and stomach. Throw in an uppercut every so often. Bite their ankle. It works super well on dance floors. Please subscribe. So let me show you how this looks like on the frequency spectrum. So I came up with this simple 3-note pattern. Nothing complicated, but if we look at the spectrum analyzer, we can see that there are 3 peaks right here. There's this one at around 40 Hz, there's this one at around 70, and one around 50. So this lower note at 40 Hz is the one that you feel in the stomach, and those 2 higher ones are the ones you feel in the chest. This kind of bass rumble will be felt all throughout your body when put on powerful speakers. There's a kind of call and response going on here. So try going for something like that when creating your patterns. And try to keep this principle in the back of your head when we're going to be moving up the levels of complexity. And there's one last tip I want to give you to make this pattern more interesting. Because like, it's okay, but it's a bit bland. And to fix that, notice this little arrow here. This right here is the start marker. And this determines where the pattern starts from. And if we drag it around, it's going to change the positioning of the bass notes in relation to the kick. So just by simply changing the position of the start marker, we get a much more interesting groove. Play around with that, because the results can be very unpredictable sometimes. Great! Now it's time for level 2, and this is where we start sequencing these patterns. By sequencing the pattern, you can generate something really groovy in literal seconds. And for the sequencing part, I'm going to use a device called ML185 sequencer, which is a Max for Live device. It's free. I'm going to link it down below. And what makes this sequencer so great is that it has a randomize button, which you can click and instantly get new ideas generated for you. You can pitch it down if it's too high. Yeah, that's already something. I like this pattern here, so let's record it to make sure it doesn't get lost anywhere. And to do that, you need to create a new MIDI track. Select your track with the sequencer from the menu, in my case, level 2 basic subsign, since it says so right here. Arm the recording down here, it needs to light up red, and press record. Here's a couple of patterns I recorded this way. You can make a couple of them and choose your favorite one. And having this sequence in a MIDI clip allows me to adjust it and make the sequence perfect, which is exactly what we're doing in level 3. So I copied this MIDI clip with the sequence right here, and there's a couple of methods I like to use to play around with it. What I do first is shift some of the octaves of the notes around, up or down, so that they sound good. There might be some very high notes in the sequence which you don't really hear, and the sequence works well without them, so just delete those. But the sequence is only 8 steps long, you see, it's repeating itself twice. Which can sometimes work really well, but other times it might get a little bit repetitive. So a simple way to make it more interesting is to duplicate it, so you have it twice, which I already do, and shift the second one over by 1 step. See, you get much more variation this way. And that could be your finished techno bassline, if you were a loser. If you remember what we did in level 2, you can do it here as well. So shift the start marker around and see what sounds good. You can get many different ideas this way. Another tip that you can use is you can increase the release time of the basic subsign and also increase the glide time. This way you're going to get some interesting unpredictable slides. So here's our bassline in context. If you want more tutorials like this one, subscribe and watch this video next.